Well, good morning, everybody. It's Robert Phoenix, and I am back again. It is just creeping up to 9 a.m. here in the wonderful hill country. It's actually a pretty lovely day, at least the start of it. It's not too hot. I think we're probably in about maybe 70 degrees, maybe right about now, a little over 7, maybe about 73, 74. We got a breeze in the trees. It's about 72, 73 degrees. It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. It actually feels a little bit like fall. And I have heard that other parts of the state are actually quite hot right now. Quite hot. Oh, YouTube is telling me that I am live on my own show. Well, thank you, YouTube. I appreciate that. So we're just going to hang out here and kind of wait for people to assemble and join in the festivities here. Probably going to go for about an hour and pack it in. Got a lot to cover. We've got 1-0 Dragon. Kristen Avalos, what's going on? There's my man, Mike. What's happening, Mike? Justice Moody. Hey, Justice, good to see you. Judy, man. Judy, you're always clocking in around number 4 or 5. I can set my watch to you, Judy. Good to see you. PB, morning to you, PB. Let's see, who do we have? We got Lils in the house. There's Peter. Good to see you, Peter. Tamara Garth. Hi, Tamara. Laura D. Good morning, Laura D. There's Ryan, the introspective woodworker. Good to see you, Ryan. Slowpo 9862. Good morning. There's Cindy Burton. There's Renee. Renee, today is the day. Right after I get off of this broadcast, Renee, it's all about you. Okay. Let's see who else we have here. Nancy Dickerson. There's Christy Tesmer. What's going on? What's happening? Maury Demers. Good to see you, Maury. FUP77. Frank Bry. I do love Monday. Good morning. We got a Monday lover in the house. When I was a kid, I actually liked Monday better than Sunday. I hated Sunday as a kid. Sunday was that day. I think it's a universal feeling because the weekend is ending. And I used to, wouldn't like, it wasn't like I'd get anxiety, but I remember like around 9, 8, 9, 10, 9 or 10, they would have a movie on Sunday night on like ABC or something like that, and I'd probably be able to watch maybe the first hour of the movie, and then I'd have to go to bed. And I just remember as the closer we got to Sunday night, the more kind of morose and melancholic I would get. I didn't really like it. I didn't really like not. I didn't really dig going back to school. It's not that I oppose school. I found some interesting things about school, not necessarily the curriculum per se. But I think it had to do with the fact that there was a family moment, right? And we had a small family, just 3 of us. So those Sunday nights became, kind of emotional in some ways. It's like, oh shit, we got to end this thing, got to go back to school. Well, I guess we don't have to do that now since kids are prisoners in their own home, being forced to sit in front of a screen and go to school. Let's see what we have here. Very informative show. That was fun, huh? Last night, it was a really fun show. And next week I'll do the rising signs, and that way you guys can get into the rising sign action. Carolina in the Pines. Let's see. NM. Okay, I'm here. You know where to find Luann. Good to see you. I keep getting texts that you are posting stuff on Facebook. I just don't go to Facebook that often anymore. Miranda Couch in the house. The global couch surfer. We got John G. We got Haven. There's Ani Brito. The Wench for the Wrench. Where's my man Steve? Steve was not on the show last night. I have to reach out to him. Just finished last night's show. Fabuloso. Being a Cancer is okay. Use your shell you come with. Lynn, you know how I feel about you. We got Steve and Chris. Robert, took years to get past that crappy Sunday night feeling. Yeah, right? I mean, so the Sunday night thing was bad. Evan Taylor on the road trucking. Evan, if you ever want to share what's going on out there, man, some insights, just let us know. I'll be happy to bring you on. I was listening to your show, Walking on the Beach, and right when you talked about the sign from above, bird shit, I found a silver spoon for me. I like that, man. That's great. That's great. One man's bird shit is another man's find from antiquity. Good for you. Man, that's cool. That's a good story. I love that story. Silver's going to the moon, by the way, right now. Catherine Evans. Wow. Hey, Catherine. Good to see you. First time here live. Got a notification. YouTube must like me again. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with me and YouTube, but I'll take it. Uh, Natasha Lloyd in the house. Miranda loved last night's show. Yeah, it was time to to change up the game a little bit. And trust me, when I got into that chart for the Beirut explosion, there's plenty of doom in that chart. All right, there's plenty of doom in that chart. And then we kind of took it to another level with the Melbourne chart, and hopefully there was some good feelings, some good vibes, maybe some strategy around the whole Melbourne thing for you Melbourners. And then we ended on a pretty high note with the exploration of the easiest to the most difficult signs. So that was fun. Cancer is a very strong sign. I always find them to be. I would agree. That they make great friends. They're great listeners. They're very loyal people, but I don't think it's an easy sign, especially in a world that is fraught with change right now. They don't necessarily do well. Kestrel's in the house. Good. We got a couple of mods here. Nice to see you, Kestrel. Shannon Marie. Hi, Shannon. Good to see you. The Lunar Lady. Shannon's got a newsletter, by the way. Shannon, feel free to put a link into here with your website if you can, so people can sign up for your newsletter, the Lunar Ladies newsletter. It's a high quality astrological information around lunar cycles, and wouldn't you know it that Shannon happens to be a Cancer. Let's see. I love the Beirut chart. Ooh, yeah, it was fingerprints all over that chart. Let's see. Megan Scala's here. Who else do we have? Kathy Steen. Hi, Kathy. Got a little birthday love last night. It's cool. Victoria V in the house. Anybody I missed so far? Anybody? There's my friend David. Hi, David. Good to see you. Nice that you're here this morning. Danica Rose, Misty Minor. All right, we are cooking now. We got some momentum. So yeah, reach out to Shannon if she can put her link in there. Maybe I'll put the link in. Let me see. There's squirrels in the house. Let me see if I can do this. Sometimes they don't allow people to put links in. See if I can do it. Yeah, this is it right here. I'll just throw this in there. We got a Taurus moon today. Let me get back to the show. Let me throw this in. Where am I? Where the hell am I? Oh, there I am. Okay. There we go. Let's do that. All right, that's where you want to go to check out Shannon's World. It's right there. Raven Rain, wash hands. Oh my God, that's so funny. That is so funny. Waning moon. That's it. It is true. It is true. Okay. There's my man, DJ MC. We talked last night, caught up with Michael, who is a scholar and a gentleman par excellence. And Michael is welcoming a new family into his world across all levels. Partner, emerging life form, the whole 9 yards. Let's send him a little love and a blessing, and hopefully he's going to be the progenitor of the warriors of spring for the planet and the earth to come. So good deal there. Okay, let's get rolling here. Dear blessed and holy Father, Mother God of the great central sun, within the universal light, which is the light of Yeshua, Sananda Emmanuel, we ask that only the highest and best information comes through this channel at this point in time. And we ask and humbly accept the qualities of courage and faith, strength, flexibility, endurance, patience, intelligence, wisdom, humor, fortitude, and above all things, love. If there is any karmic residue that we share amongst us, may be cleansed, purified, clarified, and removed from this stream so that we may return to our sovereign experience as we entered in So shall we leave, and so it is. All right, let's get cracking. We got a lot to talk about here today. We got about an hour's worth of airtime. There is so much happening right now. I don't even know where to start. There's so much going on. Let me give you a little local news first. Let me get into a little local news and a little local rant. So I had a conversation with a good friend of mine here in town who is one of the town's acupuncturists. If you're ever in Fredericksburg and you need some acupuncture, let me know. I'll set you up with a great acupuncturist. And so I was talking with her last night, and she's a very interesting person in that she has these synchronicities that happen to her. She's got a lot of syncy stuff in her chart, and she told me weird. And okay. Anyway, so she was out riding her bike, and she ran into the mayor of this town and his wife, and she started to ask them, "Well, are we going to go back to normal on August 15th? Because that's been the edict, or that's been the narrative. Okay, we're just going to have this August 15th. Nope, that's not going to happen. They're going to push it out further and push it out further and push it out further and push it out further." So this guy who is supposedly a Republican, which doesn't mean shit anymore, and he's going to be he will no longer be the mayor as of November, and in fact, he stepped into the breach as the mayor who would have finished out their term stepped down back in May. So this was the mayor, by the way, that Cleanwater Fred, not the one currently in office here, but the one that was in the mayoral seat. She was the mayor when we had our election. And there were so many irregularities with the election process that Cleanwater Fred wound up suing the city of Fredericksburg and also the mayor. Now, I don't know if the mayor stepped down because of that, although perhaps that is the case. I think the mayor saw the writing on the wall, and she didn't want to be a part of this process because she was part of it for a while. She was part of the first wave, and she resisted the strong arm tactics of the local hospital to essentially shut the town down. All right. Now, the current mayor, the one who stepped in, who was a city council member, who'd been the city manager before, he might have been mayor at another point in time. That I'm not sure of because I'm not from this place, but I do know he was a city manager at one point in time. He was not able to muster up enough spine in order to stand up to the local hospital. And if you follow what's going on, it is the hospitals and the health departments who are now creating policy. It is not the mayors. It is generally not the county commissioner. It is whoever is in charge of the hospital or the local hospital. These are the people now that are creating the public policy, which is just a complete, I wouldn't call it a reversal because they never did it in the first place. This is a complete aberration of the whole process of governance. They were not elected as our public officials at all. And our public officials are essentially, being coerced and forced to carry out their rules, orders, and regulations. And the reason why they are is because our public officials they're scared that if there are one or two or three deaths, perhaps due to the so-called virus, that it will be on their watch and they'll be responsible for those deaths. So what does that mean? It means that number one, that their theoretical reputation will be tarnished, but perhaps number two, that they may actually be open to some sort of a legal battle or legal war, so that if somebody dies theoretically of coronavirus or COVID-19, that the mayor of this town or any other town could be held responsible for that death. Now, there is an implied responsibility, and then there's also the actual legal responsibility. Now, here's where I would chime in. People die all the fucking time, okay? They die all the time. If somebody comes into this town and stays at a bar too long and drinks too much and goes out and plows into somebody, is the mayor responsible for that because it happened within the city borders? Should the mayor limit driving inside the city limits, right? When would the mayor be responsible for something along those lines? What if somebody goes off the rails and kills their wife or kills their husband because they've lost their job in a town that the virus has theoretically put a vice grip on? Is he responsible for that? Is he going to be responsible for that death? Could the survivors of that man or that woman who committed that act, could they now sue the mayor? How would the mayor feel about that? No, the mayor really doesn't think that long or hard or far about the so-called inequities of responsibility and mortality. I can tell you that right now. Okay. All he knows is that he is under the thumb. He's under the thumb of the hospital, and the hospitals have so much power right now. So much power. And by taking that power, the mayor, or any mayor for that matter, can use that power, and they can wield that power. They've been given inordinate power at this point. Inordinate power. So supposedly this guy is a Republican, okay? This is what I've heard. And I said that doesn't matter, because Republicans are really about safeguarding their own self-interest. I mean, all politicos are. Let's be clear about that. If you're a Democrat, you are safeguarding your own self-interest. If you're a Republican and you're in power, you safeguard your own self-interest. Republicans theoretically, and I put theoretically in quotes, right, are somewhat different than the Democrats because they have acquired things like property, things like zeros and ones in their bank account, all the things that are accrued with being a conservative. This is how the game works with the conservative world. When you're a Democrat, the dirty little secret is the same, especially at a high level. The same thing happens. It doesn't matter. I believe Susan Rice is going to be Joe Biden's nomination for the candidacy of vice president. It's certainly looking that way. And Susan Rice, I'm trying to just deal with this sunlight here. Susan Rice has a lot of baggage. She's got a ton of baggage. And when she went to Washington, when she went in and became part of the Obama administration, I think she was worth something like, I don't know, $325,000. It wasn't, I mean, for some people, like, wow, $325,000, I could probably live off that for a while. People in Chatlandia would probably say, oh man, that'd go a long way in my life. But for these people, that's nothing. And when she left Washington, I think she was worth about $23 million. I mean, it was, 8 years later, her wealth was like more than quadrupled. It like quintupled. It was, she was worth some coin when she left Washington. Well, why is that? Well, because when you're in Washington, you get to practice insider trading. That's a little dirty secret that a lot of people don't know. I'll tell you who exposed that though. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That was one of the first things she exposed. And I'm not a fan, and she knew that was low-hanging fruit. And by getting into that dialogue, it helped establish her credibility. But if you want to make bucks, I don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you go to Washington, you'll make a shit ton of money. That's what happens. And she did. She made a shit ton of money. But she's got baggage because she's connected to the whole Mike Flynn thing and the masking and unmasking. So if she is the candidate, the presumptive candidate to be VP, and she's been selling her Netflix stock, she's been scrubbing things, it certainly looks like she's going to be the one, that they are taking a significant risk because it will be open season on her. Now, if that is the risk that the so-called Democrats are taking, then what I think is that they don't even want Biden to step foot in the White House. And what's happening with Republicans is that might actually be the case, or at least what's happening with the current administration. But getting back to the mayor, to bring it back locally, all he wants to do is ride out this term. He's going to end in November. He doesn't want to be liable for any life or death, right? He's just going to try to cruise through. He's going to wall himself off. And then when it's all said and done, he'll be able to keep his property and keep his membership to the golf course or wherever the fuck he does in this town, right? Because he's been here a while, made a bunch of connections, and he's profited off of those connections and profited off of the ability to maneuver in a way where there's a network, right? There's a network. So that's what he just wants to play out the clock. He doesn't care. He just doesn't want to get caught in some kind of a crossfire. Well, the one thing that he doesn't understand And the one thing that a lot of people don't understand is the fact that we are actually in a battle right now for ownership of private property, of your own money, of your own body, and your own mind. Now, maybe, just maybe, he gets to hang out with a bunch of guys that wear fancy aprons and have a bunch of secret signs and signifiers and handshakes. And maybe, just maybe, he does understand that on some level. But again, being in that environment, he would be considered to be exclusive or elite and outside of the historical turn of events here, right? That when it's all said and done, he'll still have a seat at the table. I don't think anybody can be guaranteed a seat at the table, not in that way. So he doesn't really understand. I'm betting he doesn't understand the fact that the end game here is the dispossession of private property and everything you own, including your mind, including your heart, including your soul. I mean, this is the end game. And these people just think, I'm just going to ride this thing out. And when it's all said and done, it'll be somebody else's problem. They'll be the mayor. And this guy's in his 70s, I think. So do you think he really wants to stick his neck out at 70? You know, does he sort of sit around and go, oh, gee, the future families and the future children of this town and this county need to be represented? The answer is a big fuck no. He doesn't give a shit. If he did give a shit, he wouldn't have caved. He would not have caved. And these things are the measure of a man's soul or a woman's soul. And while they may not be able to be charted or graphed or some form of traceable metric can be assigned to it, when the final day has come and that person leaves this realm for the next, there is an accounting that's due, which is interesting because this guy actually is an accountant. He has an accounting service. There is a bill that's due, and he will see where he went bankrupt on his bill. And that's not just for him. That goes for all the local leadership. That goes for people at the city, the county, and the state. Your bill is going to come. And when it comes, you will not be able to justify whatever it is you did or didn't do or could have done during these times. Just remember that, okay? Just remember that. Now, for you people that are not involved in city government or county government or state government, the same application, the same algorithm applies to you, all right? And I talked about this last night. How we respond to the times we're in is really going to be the measure of our souls. So what you want to do is you want to respond accordingly. You want to respond with as much integrity as you can. And it's a learning process and a learning curve. And you know what? We're not perfect. We're just not perfect. Sometimes we fall, but we get up and we try to be accountable to the best of our ability, to be honest with ourselves and others. There's a saying from the I Ching. It's called no blame. No blame. There's no blame there. So this guy just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. He just thinks he'll be able to play out the clock. I just got an update from the newspaper, which is a fucking rag in this town. Anyway, he doesn't get it. Because that is the end game, man. The end game is they want to take his shit. They want to take his shit. That's exactly what they want to do. Man, this light is intense, isn't it? It's coming right through my third eye. Just look at that thing, man. It's a third eye adjustment. Here we go. Hold on. Let's see. Right there. So I can just get it right in my pineal gland. That's going to be this way. Right there. Look at that. Look at that. The laser coming out of my pineal gland. Anyway, damn, this light is intense. I wonder if I should just shift it a little bit. Maybe I could go over here to so you guys can actually get a break there. How's that? It's a little better, right? Now I'm like Odin on the tree, the Yggdrasil tree, the tree of knowledge, right? And hang out there like that. Anyway, so he doesn't get it. He doesn't know. He doesn't understand that ultimately the plan is to come for his shit too. And he'll think about it when he's theoretically losing all his shit. He'll think about it and say, geez, maybe I should have stood up for these people in this town a bit more. They all will, but it'll be too late by that point. Now, hopefully we won't get to that point. Hopefully we'll head this thing off at the pass. Although every day now it is an exercise, a real exercise in fortitude and perseverance. Am I right? let's get into some of the news stuff that I think is really interesting. Okay, let's get into some news stuff. First of all, I want to show you this picture. I got to show you this picture. Let me see if this is the right one. Hold on. I'm back on Twitter now, mostly just to get shit like I'm going to show you. Now I post a little bit, but I'm just on. And Twitter is always trying to make sure I am who I am, just to make sure you're not a robot. We need you to do this CAPTCHA. Let's check your phone. Who are you? Are you really a human? Amazon did that to me last night. I was watching the documentary on Frank Zappa, I had to get a code sent to my phone. I've only been using Amazon for like, 6 or 7 years? Well, shit, longer than that, man. I was watching Amazon Prime in 2010. So what is that now? 10 years. And now they've got to send me a code for me to prove who I am. What's up with that? Anyway. Here, I'm going to show you this photo. This is why I'm kind of back on Twitter, just for shit like this. Just so I can show you these sorts of things. Here we go. Gee, look at that. Aren't they just buds? Aren't they just pals? I think Mr. What are the odds that this shows up on Tucker Carlson tonight? Let's see. I don't have much here, but I'd bet it. I'd bet it that this shows up on Tucker Carlson. And Mr. Lamont looks very happy. Oh my. Oh my. Look at the size of Epstein's noggin. Jesus. Apparently there is no correlation between head size and junk size. Because theoretically, Epstein had a small and very unusual apparatus shaped like an egg or something. What the fuck is that? You know, what dude has like an egg dong? I don't know. Oh man, but he's got, I mean, the thing about Epstein, he's got a huge fucking head. I mean, look at that head. It's almost like twice the size of Don Lemon's. And I've talked about this before. Like, I think probably about an eighth of Epstein is his fucking head, right? It's enormous. Unlike other things that are associated with his body. And he's just having a great old time. He's just so pleased to be there, isn't he? Donnie, you got some questions here to answer to, Mr. Lamont. They both look very happy. Jeffrey Epstein, so smug and so self-satisfied. Now, I will say this about Epstein, okay? I know his chart. He's got the Venus-Mars conjunction, and it's in Pisces, and it's like exact. I think, is it at 0? No, it's a little bit after 0, but it's exact. And people that have Venus-Mars conjunctions tend to have some kind of charisma. So I think it's clear that one of the reasons why Jeffrey Epstein was chosen was because he had a kind of an affable charisma. Now remember, he's an Aquarian, and I believe he's at 0 Aquarius. He's about as Aquarian as it gets. So I think that's why he was the front man right there. And, you know, little Donnie. Well, Donnie's having a nice time there. He's having a very nice time. I wonder if he sat down and had an in-depth conversation about Mr. Epstein's white privilege. Although I'm not sure Mr. Epstein would even identify himself as white. That's always the most interesting existential question that I have about people who are Jewish. And I'm just going to be straight up. I'm not being anti-Semitic. I've always wanted to know, if you are Jewish, do you identify as Jewish or do you identify as white? And I'm just curious. I'm curious. I don't know how, if I was Jewish, I don't know how I'd respond to that. You know, because I would say, well, maybe there's times where it benefits me as identifying as being Jewish and other times white. I mean, I'm just being honest. You know, if I was that person, I might roll that way. But I don't know. I don't know how that goes. But in any case, there's a lot of ebony and ivory here, right? We should just cue up the song, right? Stevie Wonder, right? Paul McCartney, Ebony and Ivory. A lot of harmony in that photo. Jesus. Donnie, you got some splaining to do. That's for damn sure. And by the way, I'm not being facetious or sarcastic when I ask that question. It's a really honest question. that I think would be interesting to have answered at some point. And maybe the answer will not be forthcoming. It's a lot like the Postal Service. The Postal Service is a private entity, but it's also a public entity as well, right? So when it's doing really, really well, it's a private entity. When it's not doing so well, it's a public entity. So then it gets bailouts and all kinds of tax incentives and all that stuff. It's kind of a hybrid. All right, let's go to another little news item here. Something I think is newsworthy. And let's see where we are. Okay, I'm going to get into the heavy stuff. We are going to get a little heavy today. I'm going to do some astrology today too. All right. So Lance Armstrong's bike shop terminates police contract amid Black Lives Matter protests. Oh, okay. So he has a bike shop in town in Austin called Mellow Johnny's. So let's read that letter here. In an open letter published on social media, Mellow Johnny's bike shop has announced the termination of its contract with the Austin Police Department following Black Lives Matter protests. The Austin, Texas-based bike shop, founded by Lance Armstrong. It says founded. I'm not sure he's still affiliated with the shop. He lives in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. Made the decision after evaluation of community policing in Austin, and is walking away from a contract with the city of Austin 2 years prior to its scheduled conclusion. Now all the bike companies. Trek responds to use of police bikes against Black Lives Matter protesters. Fuji suspends bike sales to use police after violence against protesters. Lance Mayer climbs 100,000 feet in one single ride for Black Lives Matter. Lane Mayer. Wow. According to reports from KXAN, the 3-year contract was originally penned in 2019 is worth $314,000, for which the business was supply and repair bikes for Austin Police Department over an initial 3-year period, with options to extend. It's difficult in these times to balance the needs of a business and a community. It continues. Our entire employee group was engaged in this dialogue. We had a dialogue. We talked. And we delved deep into our community to understand how we could best do our part to keep our customers safe and this city moving in the right direction. Businesses can no longer be non-participants in the communities they serve. We chose what we think will do the most to suture these divides and place our community on the right side of history. We've had to make these choices before when we felt companies whose products we sold put kids at schools at risk of violence. What the fuck? Oh, you got to be kidding me! All right, this is just ridiculous. Okay, I don't even want to continue to go down pandering lane here. So let me just address this from a local perspective. All right, I lived in Austin from 2012 to 2018 for 6 years. Okay, 6 years. So I know the city pretty well. I know the demographics of Austin pretty well. And I can tell you that Austin has one of the lowest black populations of any city I've ever lived in. So if you go to the east side of Austin, I went to the east side of Austin for the first time back in 19. Why is it always that the rough sides of town are always on the east side? I've always found that to be true. In Palo Alto was East Palo Alto, or otherwise known as EPA. In Oakland, it was East Oakland, although West Oakland didn't fare much better. And with St. Louis, East St. Louis, why is it always the east side of towns? East LA, it's always east. Haven't you noticed that? Anyway, my first time in Austin was in 1996, and I was actually, that was my tarot van tour. And I'd made friends with this dude that lived over on the east side, and he had a pretty cool little place. And so it was my first experience there. And I could tell you that the east side of Austin at that time was primarily black and primarily Mexican / Latino. All right, that's where, just like every other city in America, seems like the east side is the area where the so-called underprivileged or the people that are lower on the socioeconomic ladder tend to migrate towards. I don't have any understanding why this happens. And I'm sure if I spent about 20 minutes digging into it, I could probably give you an answer. And there's a lot of smart people inside of the chat room who might be able to supply that answer as well. It's one good thing about having a group mind. I don't have to be responsible for everything. So I hung out there and I saw what the demographics were. It was what it was. Fast forward, guess what happened? That whole area got gentrified. It got gentrified. And guess what happened to those families? They had to leave. They had to leave East Austin. They left. Where was the hue and cry for that? Where was the hue and cry against gentrification, hipsterism, which essentially forced out a lot of these families who had been there for quite a long time? Right. So whatever, so-called black population Austin had was being disseminated and was being forced to move out because the property values were going up and the hipsters were moving in. And if you want to have a really cool hipster experience in Austin, you just rent an Airbnb over on the east side. You can get, fancy cocktails, and you can have, fancy food and, 150 different types of cuisine served up in, all these different variations on their themes. It's all there. It's all there, all in East Austin, right? So they're basically championing Black lives in a city where, quite frankly, they didn't give much of a shit about Black lives when it came to so-called urban development. No, in that moment in time, those Black lives were expendable. What was more important was getting cheap real estate values. So let's be clear. Austin is not a paragon of conscience nor virtue. Okay. So that said, what kind of Black lives are they actually talking about now in regards to their protests and not doling out or fixing the bikes for the police? Well, really, not many. Right? Not many. So what they're doing is they're creating an issue out of a non-issue. And this goes right into the heart of Black Lives Matter. It goes right into the heart of who the frontline soldiers are. And the frontline soldiers are, guess what? Generally privileged, middle class whites. That's who it is. And they're the ones that are drilling down, and with their allies in the Black Lives Matter movement, they are extorting businesses. This is exactly what's happening. They're extorting businesses, and businesses are doing, this kind of, really deep virtue signal. And the ultimate virtue signal is to unlock yourself from any relationship with the police. Okay. So this is what Mellow Johnny's, Lance Armstrong, the bike shop associated with Lance Armstrong. Now, I don't know what Lance Armstrong's role is. I don't know if he's still associated with the shop or not. I don't know. But if he is, then I believe that this is also a way for Lance Armstrong to reinvent himself, right? To have, perhaps a more robust welcoming back to the fold by the same people who ultimately cut his career and his livelihood short. So I want to take you back in time. All right. Now, I actually am very connected to this story in a very, how shall I say it, personal way. In fact, it was Livestrong that brought me to Austin, not directly, but indirectly. And I'm going to leave out the details, okay? I'm going to leave out the details. But I got here based on Livestrong and a certain person in my inner circle who wound up getting a job there, okay? So Livestrong is a part of my story. Ultimately, Livestrong got me to the hill country indirectly, okay? So in some ways, like, I have something to be thankful for with Livestrong. But I remember this. I remember the moments. I have clear moments about listening and watching and following what was going on with Lance Armstrong. Now, let's be clear. Lance Armstrong is a douche. He's a very unlikable human. Very unlikable. And, he probably lost his testicle due to use of some form of performance-enhancing drug to begin with. But again, I'm going to put an asterisk there. I said probably. I'm not saying yes. I don't want to be open for libel or slander, but it's not something that hasn't been discussed. Trust me, it's been discussed. So his use of potential performance enhancing substances actually potentially brought on his physical malady and calamity. Okay. Now, that did not stop him from using said substances. But he's a douche. Nobody likes him. Livestrong was started by his high school buddy, who apparently is actually a really good dude. You know, sometimes this happens. Sometimes you get good people who are associated with not so good people, and maybe it's a sort of divine dispensation of the externalization of one's conscience. And maybe they've got some sort of a soul agreement. Maybe they even share a soul, by the way, which is not uncommon. You know, people do share souls. And you could have multiple people sharing a soul. Why do you think that number 144,000? Well, you would think that 144,000, you know, that they're just going to 144,000 people. No, it's 144,000 souls. And there is some people who believe that a soul could be shared by a lot of people, you know, 10, 20, 30, you know, 100 people, 1,000 people might even be able to share a soul. It's called a group soul. Okay. So when we look at that number, 144,000, it's not just 144,000 individuals. So let's redo the math on that. So, you know, you get somebody like Lance Armstrong in his high school buddy, maybe they share a soul. So Lance is the evil guy and his high school buddy's the good guy, and they work it out. By the way, this is not uncommon. And if you want to delve more into this, you can get into the Seth material, which covers some of these ideas. Jane Roberts, interesting stuff. Kind of hard to look at and watch, though, I have to say, when you're downloading it. She looks like a version of Linda Blair in The Exorcist. If you're going to listen to Seth and Jane Roberts, I would advise you to darken your screen. Let's put it that way. All right, so now we've got this Lance Armstrong guy. He's making a shit ton of money. He's, you know, just absolutely crushing the competition when it comes to the Tour de France and all these other bicycle races. And his sponsor, ironically, is the Postal Service. And everybody knew that Lance was juicing. They all knew it. The guys on the team knew it, you know, but they didn't really care until I think maybe either Lance Armstrong crossed a certain point, or Eric Holder, who was the Attorney General at that time, forced them to testify in a grand jury. And this happened. It was the Obama administration that called a grand jury against Lance Armstrong because they wanted to count a coup. They wanted a scalp. They wanted this guy that was associated with dominance. Not only just dominance, but was also associated with the Bush administration. Now, we know that the Obamas and the Bushes and the Clintons are just one happy family on some level, right? So I think it was less about Bush and more about the symbolic castration of Lance Armstrong and what he meant on a particular social level. You know, they were going to take away the last remaining nut is what they were going to do. And it did. It happened. And so I remember driving down the coastal highway in California on my way to San Luis Obispo and listening to ESPN. And it was that moment where they said that Lance Armstrong was no longer going to fight this, that he was going to appear before the grand jury because that was going to happen with all his money, with all his connections. It would have drained him to try to fight this thing. So he just decided to face the music, and you know he did. And what they did is they stripped him of all of his medals. They publicly shamed him, and a lot of people didn't lose a whole lot of sleep over it because he pissed off a lot of people along the way. You know, like a lot of people who tend to be very successful, they're assholes. Now that doesn't mean you have to be an asshole to be successful, but I could go right down the line, and I could just go person by person by person, and you know most cases they'll say asshole, asshole, asshole. Asshole. Some cases you can get somebody who can be an asshole and they can be actually pretty cool. You know, I've been dosing a lot on Frank Zappa and Frank Zappa's documentaries for the last 72 hours, and Frank could be an asshole. But Frank was also extremely talented. He was a genius. He could spot talent. He was generous with allowing people to show off their chops and their skills. So that sort of offset a lot some of Frank's assholiness. I also think that Frank has some unseemly ties to the whole Laurel Canyon scene, which a lot of people seem to avoid and evade when talking about Frank Zappa. I wouldn't. I think that they would have to be definitely explored and exposed. But that said, everybody uniformly and universally agreed that Lance Armstrong was an asshole. Okay. So when it came time to take him down, nobody shed a tear. They're like, good. This motherfucker was an asshole. Good. But I'll tell you, it was symbolic. It was very, very symbolic because it happened during the Obama administration. And it was like, let's go after this guy. Because we know we can nail him. And not only that, but he stands for a certain kind of thing. Right? And that thing was what? Individualism. Now, bicycle racing is a team. It's a team effort. But if you're on a bicycle team and your lead dog is Lance Armstrong, you do everything in your power to protect the lead dog, to draft, because that's the guy at the end of the finish line that's going to carry you across and the entire team wins. And that's exactly what they did. They knew it that Lance, due to his regime and due to his physical makeup and his obsessive nature with winning, was a better rider. Okay. He was better and they hated it because he was an asshole to boot, but they did it anyway. And you think that those guys didn't juice? You think those guys didn't have some kind of performance enhancing substance running through their veins? Of course they did. Maybe not as sophisticated or as powerful as Lance and his private lab, but I bet, doping has gone along with bicycle racing for decades. During the 1950s, when the French were dominating Tour de France, their drug of choice was Benzedrine. These guys, these racers, were just dosing on Benzedrine, and it really shortened their lives. And they won a lot of races, but by the time they were done, they were just former shells of themselves. So doping has always been a part of bike racing. Let's just be clear about that. Even Greg LeMond had rumors, and Greg LeMond was, the guy who kind of turned Americans' heads when it came to the Tour de France, which, by the way, we never really hear about anymore. But Lance Armstrong made some people a lot of money. The bicycle industry exploded with Lance Armstrong. Okay, exploded. The Postal Service got tons of free press and free publicity and free marketing because they were the sponsor of Lance Armstrong's team. He made a lot of, networks would run the events. Who watches a fucking bicycle race? Really? I mean, I know some people do, but you got to be really committed. And those races were on primetime television, and they had sponsors and they had commercials. So I would say it would not be an overreach to basically assign $1 billion value to Lance Armstrong. If you add it all up, bike sales, merch from Nike through Livestrong, through things like the marketing, the promotion of the Postal Service, through the commercials that were sold, that were associated with the Tour de France and other races, I bet you can get close to $1 billion. There's not a lot of people on this planet that could be $1 billion driver. And that's what Lance Armstrong was. And then almost literally overnight, there was a wrecking ball to that whole operation. And Livestrong was actually doing some really good work. And to this day, you can go to their website. It's a pretty decent website. They have a lot of information on supplements and home, not naturopathic stuff. It's a pretty decent website. And let's just say I was closely connected to that world and that experience when all this was going down. And it was just a matter of time before Nike got out of their contract and decided that they weren't going to provide any of the merch for Livestrong at that point. So this is in a lot of ways where the tide really begins to turn. If we look back at the time that we're in now, I would say that is a pretty considerable milestone moment. It's a milestone moment. And what's interesting, and you can go to my website, and I've written about this, is that Neil Armstrong, the astronaut, died right around the same time. So he was the guy that theoretically, again, got us to the moon. And so I was looking at both of them, both of their charts, and the whole idea of Armstrong going all the way back to a character called Jack Armstrong, who was they had the Jack Armstrong radio show. And Jack Armstrong was a youth. He was a teen, and he was like the all-American boy. He was great at all these different sports, and he had a gal pal, and he somehow would wind up in these kinds of incidents of international intrigue, which is quite interesting. So, the whole Armstrong moniker goes all the way back to Jack Armstrong. So they were taking a wrecking ball to all things Armstrong during that time. And so this is when cancel culture on a certain level comes into play. Okay. We got some fire ants here. So now Lance Armstrong, at least this company, is going to try to get back into good graces of the culture cancelers by denying the police bikes. Okay, great. You think your bike sales are going to go up as a result of this? It's nothing more than just a virtue signal. That's all it is. I'm not sure what Lance Armstrong has to do with it, if anything at all. Who knows? Maybe he's into it. Maybe this will bring him back into the good graces of the American public. Maybe they'll give him a hug now. Maybe that's what it's all. I don't know. I don't even know what his involvement with the shop is. But I'll tell you, it's not uncommon for businesses to do this, especially now. They're taking theoretical calculated risk that if they do this, that they won't be picketed. They won't have they'll be able to sell their products, in other ways, other places. Who knows? Who knows how they're going to, do the math on this? But we know that on some level, it's a shakedown. At least I do. I think it's a shakedown. And again, I'm just trying to wrap my head around what Black lives are talking about in Austin. That's not to say that there aren't so-called Black people in Austin. There are, but, there's nothing like Houston. I can tell you that right now. It is nothing like Houston. It's not even anything like San Antonio. I've driven through the so-called Black neighborhoods of San Antonio, and they're not gentrified. Okay. So I'm still trying to understand what the whole Black lives they're trying to defend. Maybe it's just a national or universal principle of the Black. If Black lives mattered so much, they would have done a lot more to end the gentrification on the east side of Austin, so those people could still have their homes. But I guess those Black lives really didn't matter at that point in time, did they? No, they didn't. It's just a bunch of horse shit. Anyway, there you go. Now the Austin police are going to have to find a new person or new entity to sell them and service their bikes. The reason why that was a sweet deal for the APD is because of where that shop is located. It is not far from where the APD is. They could get a trailer and throw the bikes over there and they'd be done and bring them back. The travel time, less than 10 minutes, inside the city, less than 5, depending upon, the traffic lights. It's very close to where the APD is. Not that I care a whole ton about the APD either, but at the end of the day, I'd rather deal with the APD than the NPD, which is no PD. I take my chances. I'll take my chances with the so-called bullies, the bullies with a badge, than the bullies without a badge. Which brings me to another point here, is that apparently Marvel is now coming out with 2 characters. One is called Snowflake, and the other is called Safe Space, and they're battling bullying. Are you kidding me? What's interesting? I was thinking about this last night. Is the whole bully thing is really ironic because now the anti-bully people have become the bullies. They have become the bullies. The anti-bully culture has become the bullies. And they can't even see that. They can't wrap their heads around that because they're fighting for justice. There's this justification that what they're doing is they're fighting the good fight. And so what if they have to become bullies? If they have to become bullies to defeat the bullies, then they'll do that, right? But they can't even look at themselves. Guess what? We become the bullies. We have become the same thing that we have railed against, that we have rallied against, that we have legislated against. We are now the bullies. You know why? Because they have taken away and chipped away the power of a so-called authority, right? A so-called authority. And then when that happens, who steps into the breach? The people who chipped away at the power. I think I can shift back now. Let's try this. Yeah, it's a little bit better, right? It's a little bit better. So it's ironic now that the bullies are kind of running the show. But I tell you what, man, I hate bullies. Bullies are right up there. I got two things that I detest. Three things I detest. One is thieves. I don't like thieves. Two is bullies. I can't stand bullies. And three is cheap people. Those are my top three. Thieves, bullies, and cheap people. Boom. Right? So bullies are right up there. I hate bullies. I got Mars and Cancer. I'm all about the underdog. And right now it's like I'm on the side of the underdog. I'm not on the side of the bullies. Let that be known. So I guess we could what do we have? We got thieves, we got bullies, and we got cheap people. Well, this story will connect in with two out of those three, at the very least. Let me take you to the streets of Chicago, where it's another night of smash and grab. Here we go. Riots and looting break out on Chicago's Magnificent Mile. This is an upscale area, by the way, the Magnificent Mile, sparked by a false rumor cops shot a child. So now they don't even have to have a bullshit video. It's just a rumor. Now it's just a rumor. You know what that's like? That is like yelling fire in a movie theater, which is you can't do it anymore because the movie theaters are closed. But if they're open and you yelled fire, you'd be in a heap of trouble, as they used to say. Over 100 are arrested and 30 cops injured as racial tensions flare up nationwide on the 6th anniversary of Michael Brown's death. It's like they got so much information, they can't even finish the fucking headline. I didn't want to get into Michael Brown. So there are layers with Michael Brown. I'll just get into a little bit. There are layers there. One layer is that nothing really happened. Nothing happened, that it was all faked. All right. So there's that. Then from the it's all faked to the he went after a cop's gun and the cop defended himself against a guy going for his gun, that there would be some level of justification. So therefore, the rioting and the looting that ensued really have no basis in reality because theoretical so-called cop was defending himself, right? What's interesting is the name of the cop. The cop's name is Darren Wilson. Where else have we seen Darren? How about Chauvin, right? So we have two Darrens now. The old Gemini thing when it comes to dealing with an event. Darren Wilson, Darren Chauvin. So looters ransacked Chicago's Magnificent Mile shopping district in the early morning hours of Monday morning as police in the city dealt with escalating tensions elsewhere after a crowd of residents in a South Side neighborhood gathered in protest, having been told incorrectly that cops shot a child. It just takes a rumor, the whisper of a rumor now, to ignite the mob. So here's some pictures. Here we go. Take a picture of that. That won't be there a year from now. Or at least the police won't be there a year from now, probably. They'll have their own police force, the Sharia police force. But here we go, all in the name of justice. And here is a poor, underprivileged black person protesting against the tyranny of the Western capitalist, authoritarian, controlled civilization. I can tell you that this person never had a chance in life, being a so-called black person. Never had a chance in life. Everything was just tilted and rigged against them. So they deserve whatever they have. Please, go, use it. Use it. This dude right here, he's like, I'm just waiting for her to get across that bush. You know that that's happening. And it's like, and she's like, okay, Okay. I'll give you one of these things if you leave my my white ass alone. All right, here we go. Here we go. I take you until forever. Shattering. A shattering image. And here we have a jogger. Okay. Is that the same person? Is that the same person? That might be the same person. You might be looking at the same person. I'm just saying, hold on, hold on. Maybe not. Looks like she's wearing a dress. Maybe. And a little redistribution in the thigh department. So check out the shoes. I don't know. The shoes look very similar. You got black and red. I don't know. Maybe it was this moment that inspired her to go pick up a few extra goodies she could take home and make up for the inequities of social justice. Here we go. They're putting the metal down there. We're done here. Now this area is very upscale, so the police are responding accordingly. Now this person, I can't figure out this person. Like, what is going on here? Now, is this a dude with man boobs, or is this a woman who theoretically might be better served in some ways to wear a brassiere? What is going on here? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm not judging. I'm just trying to understand the situation. It's very confusing to me. But we've got multiple shots of said person right there, and a lot of police for one dude. Of course, Best Buy is going out of business, and this is one of the reasons why. They're going to claim all kinds of insurance losses. They'll get a buyout from the government. They'll get some of that PPP money, PP, whatever it is. And here we go. What is this? Looks like a storefront. They sell furniture. Looks like a lot of the furniture is intact there. This is a very upscale neighborhood of Chicago. Super upscale. Very upscale. But it was going on all night, all around the so-called United States. You're anything but united at this point. Seattle had more heat, clashes between Black Lives Matter and the Proud Boys. So the Proud Boys decided they were going to take on a BLM. There's Antifa. Now Antifa are sporting goggles. Isn't that interesting? Now Fauci is saying that we have to wear goggles. I guess Antifa really takes what Fauci is saying seriously. Now, what Antifa is doing is they're basically defending themselves against things like tear gas, blows to the head. So they're actually mirroring the military, the paramilitary that they're up against. Defend, not defund. Now, here we go. We got the Proud Boys, and they have some very interesting symbols. This symbol looks quite interesting. I think I've seen this symbol before. And here we have a triangle and something that looks like a cross inside the triangle. Why do people even have to have symbols? You know, it's like, can we have a group or movement without a fucking symbol? Support police. Okay. Why don't you take your fucking mask off? Like, I can't take this guy seriously. You know, support police. Okay. And then support the face diaper. Be careful what you ask for. Black Lives Matter. Defund. Well, this is, I don't know what this is. This is very confusing. We got a Black Lives Matter thing. Be careful what you ask for. The defund SPD, and they're crossing that out. That's very confusing. Now we're into cross confusion with symbols. And do you guys want to watch the video? You want to see what looting looks like? I mean, let's be clear. America has been turned into a third world country. And this is what's going on. Riot police are forcing protesters back from headquarters of the Ferguson Police Department. Can we just take a glance at the racial makeup of the protesters? These people are communists. They're communists. They may say they care about black lives. They're not even black, for crying out loud. And now here we go. This is Philip K. Dick's wet dream. On the other side of it all, I don't know. I really don't have a dog in the fight here with either one of these forces. It would be great if they just all canceled each other out so the rest of us could get on with living on the planet. But I guess if I had to side with one, unfortunately, it would be with order versus less order because, at the end of the day, we want some order. But I think that would be great if they just cancel each other out. And they're going at it. And these things are engineered. And there's Darren Wilson and there's Michael Brown. And what do you got with Darren Wilson? He looks like a serial killer. This is, I guess, from his hospital room. And what do you got from Michael Brown? Oh, he's a sweet young man. See how that works? What the hell is going on here? Okay, so this is a filmmaker. Chris Phillips is treated after being maced. He looks like a fucking comic book character now, doesn't he? Like, this is the new Marvel character. Mace face. A filmmaker gets maced with an industrial grade quality of mace. The antidote supplied to him by local law enforcement contained a chemical compound that was able to penetrate subdermal layers of his flesh and even all the way to the brain-blood barrier. And in that fated moment, Maceface was born unto a world of chaos, dystopia, and pure anarchy. You're going at it now. This is fucked. It's just really fucked. They're just turning us against one another. They're just laughing. They're laughing. Like, look at what we're doing to these little pawns, these little creatures that we can direct and guide. We can put them at each other's throats. Family against family, right? And that's Michael Brown Sr.'s father, Pink Dove. There's another symbol. The Cyrus son was killed 6 years ago. Their peaceful moral services are not thought to. Look, they can do that. They could do that. That's their right. Here we go. We got roses. Cori Bush, Democratic nominee. Missouri 1st Congressional District. If you're in Missouri, I would say that you probably need to vote. And this is not a person that I necessarily cast my vote for. It has nothing to do with the person's sexual nor ethnic affiliation. And I don't know who's on the other side, but I don't know. I just that person automatically would not get my vote. Plus, they have the last name of Bush, and I do not like the last name of Bush. All right, I think I've mined that far enough. So let's just check in with you guys. I'm going to do the astrology. Oh, yeah, I've got a few other things to do here. Got a few other things to deal with. So what do we got? We're at 160. The Constitution is dead. You think rules matter? Yeah, nobody said, I think rules matter. Yeah, the Constitution is null and void. That's pretty clear. And the Constitution was null and void really on February 21st, right? 18 was that 18. I was going to do the chart last night. I was going to do this chart, and it had to do with the abrogation of the Constitution when the United States Corporation came into being. Let me see if I can find that thing. There it is. I'm not going to get into the chart right now because it's too involved. but I'll show it to you. I'll be happy to show it to you. So this is the chart. Basically, when they decided to go full U.S. corporation, City of London, and it's right here. So this is really the astrological makeup. Corporate USA, February 21st, 1871, Washington, D.C. And I decided to use the 10 a.m. time to put Pluto on the ascendant. So really, this would be a version of the U.S. chart now, and probably abrogating and superseding the actual chart from July 4th. Throw on top of that the chart for the Patriot Act, which is another iteration of this, and then throw on top of that the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a three chart multi-composite of those three charts, and I'm going to put them together. And I'm not going to do it now. Well, I don't have the Patriot Act chart, but I'm going to do that next Sunday night, and I'll put that together, and we'll go over that. But this is a very important day, 21st February 1871, Washington D.C. Look at that grand trine: Mars, Mercury, Jupiter. Now, what's interesting is I've looked at the progressed version of this chart, and the progressed sun is getting ready. It's about 3 degrees away from going into Leo. So I would take it based on that. I'll even show you. I'll just show you. So this is the progress chart, corporate USA. Now you see where the progressed sun here is at 27, and then we have Uranus at 26. Is that radical enough for you? Final degrees of Cancer. And you know that the 27th and the 28th degree of every sign goes, bah, right? The energy is all over the place. Well, why? Because it is about to go dark. Now, there is 2 more theoretical years in the progressed chart here before the energy goes dark at the 29th degree of Cancer. What they're shooting for, when I say they, is that the progressed sun, based on that chart, going to 0 Leo. That's about 3 years out from now. So I think 2023 and 2024 obviously are going to be the target dates. Now, I would say based on this, we probably have 1, 2, 3 more years. 3 more years of a controlled, uncontrolled chaos because of what we see with the Sun-Uranus conjunction. And then after that, there will be a new crown. There will be a new 30-year reign of the progressed sun based on this chart, 0 Leo. Now here we see Virgo on the ascendant. What is that, 26? So even that's going to change, right? Social justice, Mars and Libra, front and center, first house, front and center. And that's only going to get closer and closer and closer to the ascendant. So this is interesting. What do we have here? We got Saturn and the South Node in the 4th house of the progress chart for the corporate USA chart from February 21st, 1871. Right? And this is the oligarchic rule right here. And it's also the 4th house represents homes where people live. And we can see where Pluto and Jupiter and the whole Capricornian stellium mafia has been just ransacking the 4th house of this chart. You go back into the chart for the actual country itself, that's in Aries, where Chiron exists. And the United States is going to go through its Chiron return. And it's not close, but it's getting closer. And that's going to have a lot to do with more violence and potentially even gun control at a certain point. Okay. So, there are ways of looking at astrology, which, of course, I like to do. And the progress chart here is all in critical Virgo and all behind the scenes. And what is Virgo about? It's about health, right? It's about health. And what is kind of running the show right now? This kind of hyper vigilant, neurotic relationship with health. And not neurotic relationship with health in a good sense, but more in that allopathic, administrative, westernized sense. All behind the scenes, all 12th house. And they're pulling it off, right? You got the trine to Pluto here. You've got the trine to Saturn going on. They're pulling it off. Now, Neptune is coming into play. And Neptune, while it has been in opposition with this chart, it will, I think the big difference maker here is going to be Neptune opposing Pallas. Because I think at that point, people will understand the pattern. They'll understand the pattern. They'll know what the pattern is. And in that instance, in that point in time, the pattern might be able to be dissolved. It might be able to be dissolved, but they'll understand what the pattern is. Hopefully, we'll still be around as a result of, before then. That's not that far off, by the way. It's about a year away. We have Ceres here, right, in Libra on the ascendant. And again, what is Libra? It's justice, it's balance. Ceres is nurturing. It's nurturing this idea of justice and balance. We can see the ascent of social justice in this chart. It's happening right there. All right, so there's a little astrology for you. I was going to do that last night, but you guys got it today. See, membership has its privileges. Let's do a quick look at, I got to get into this. I just got to get into this. All right, then I got to do the chart, and then I get it out. Get a lot of information here today. I'm trying to keep these things under an hour, but there's so much to talk about. I mean, if you are in a news cycle, I mean, it is just like, walking into a gold mine right now. All right, let me find this thing. Okay, there it is. So there are things happening. There are things happening on the Biden front. Big time. Big time. There are big things happening on the Biden-Ukraine front. This is a story that you have to pay attention to. Right here. FBI raids Miami office during probe into billionaires' alleged money laundering. This guy is connected to Ukraine and Joe Biden. So there we go. The 55th floor office overlooking Biscayne Bay on Tuesday in downtown Miami. The search for evidence is part of a money laundering investigation related to alleged bank fraud in where? Wait for it, Ukraine. The case related to the raid is under seal. Federal agents were at the Southeast Financial Center Tower office. The two Miami businessmen, Mordecai Moti Korf, and this is the guy right here, Uri Labor, used to run several companies. No one was detained during the raid. Korf and Labor are prominent members of the Orthodox Jewish Hasidic community in South Florida. Okay, so this is interesting. This is connected to Chabad. Oh boy, this is interesting now. FBI Cleveland Special Agent Vicki Anderson told Cleveland's ABC News affiliate the raid in Miami was connected to a raid at the offices of the Optima Management Group, a commercial real estate management and investment firm based in Cleveland, Ohio. So some politicos were arrested in Cleveland. So now the two are connected. Here we go now. The Optima Management Group is partly owned by Igor Kolomoisky, a Cypriot Ukrainian billionaire with Israeli citizenship. Kolomoisky was allegedly involved in the $5.5 billion fraud at the largest commercial bank in Ukraine. This is interesting stuff. The bank, oh, look at this. Here we go. We got to check it out. We got a spider right there. See that? That's a sign. That's a sign. He's walking right across the screen here. Right across the screen. The universe is speaking. Right there. Look at that. Right there. Right there. Going through all the names. Right there. Through Delaware. Ooh, that's Joe Biden territory, Delaware. 5.5 billion fraud, right? So just follow the spider. Follow the spider's trail right there. This is the universe speaking to us right there. Thank you. Those are the details you want to pay attention. Thank you, Spider. Appreciate that. He's coming back again. Are you done, or is there more? Do I need to pay attention to more? 5.5, isn't that interesting? 5.5 billion, 55th floor. There are no accidents, right? So this is a big deal. This is a big deal. They're going to spin the bottle in this thing. So and Delaware shows up prominently. Now, there are times when Joe Biden has admitted that he is a Zionist, okay? He has said that. He'll say anything, though. He's a shameless motherfucker. He'll say anything. But he said that he was a Zionist. Now, remember, the Ukraine color revolution was run by the Newlands out of the Obama White House. And Victoria Nuland was inside the White House. And they are neocons. They're neocons left over from the Bush administration. And they were the ones that ran the color revolution in Ukraine. And it really looks like Ukraine was going to be their destination for money laundering, for being able to bring money, not just money laundering, but using Ukraine as kind of a cash till, so that politicians in this country, Joe Biden and his son, amongst many others, would benefit from the money that was being laundered into Ukraine and back into the U.S. for contract services, pay to play, as they say. So keep your eye on this. This is a big story. Now they've raided, and what they did when they raided that Cleveland office, they were able to get information, and they were able to get details on that Miami office. So we're headed into some very interesting territory here. Now, again, we got, I believe the government is essentially organized gangs. So we got one gang going after another gang. This is really what this amounts to. And then that other gang is going against the other gang and trying to do everything in their power from their legal perspective to take the other gang members down. We can see this as it relates to Trump and the BCCI, the Bank of Settlements in Basel, where Trump's money, his tax returns, all that stuff are located. Also, the tax records and money, the records for Jeffrey Epstein's group, his track record or his bank accounts and his bank records are located there as well. So there's a lot of legal maneuvering going on right now to try to get the goods on the other group or the other gang. I think this story in Miami is significant, and it's a story that could boomerang back to Joe Biden. And if that's true and that's the case, then the Democrats are fucked. They're fucked. They're going to have to do something. They're going to have to either replace Biden, but and at that point, and by the way, it really doesn't matter. I mean, that spider that just ran across my screen could run for president and probably get, 20% of the votes. All right, let's just quickly look at the astrology for the week ahead, because I said I would do that. And I try to be a man of my word as much as possible. Then I'm out of here. I think this is it. Let's see what we got. Nope, that's not it. That's the chart we just looked. Give me 1 sec. I just have multiple charts up. It's going to be this chart. Oh, fuck. All right. Hold on. Let me just get rid of that. Showing up 2 times. Here we go. I have eliminated any other possibility for any of the chart. There we go. Let's expand that. So this is where we are today. We've got the here we go. We're getting into Yod territory. Not quite there yet. It's getting very close though. You can see kind of a weak Yod here. It's with Neptune and the Sun and Pluto and the Sun. Ooh, man, that is scandalous, man. That is revelation. And when Mercury comes up and joins the odd party, which it will, what is it? What is the date today? Right around the 15th. Yeah, look out. That's going to be a very interesting time. Venus is just now, 2 days ago, crossed over into Cancer. It finally has completed its Gemini cycle. And now in Cancer, we're talking about nurturing, we're talking about support. We have a nice Tauran moon to start the week off. It's in a wide conjunction. Yeah, I don't know, closer than wide. It's in a conjunction with Uranus. That's interesting. But at the end of the day, this will be very, very close. We'll have this Moon-Uranus conjunction. It's a little unstable. But there's some interesting things going on with the trine to Jupiter. Look, if you're into precious metals and you're into some of the cryptos, like I think the next 48 hours could be a boom, a big boom. And I've been watching some of the cryptos just like go nuts. The lower price ones. Like I've been following Augur for a long time, and it was low. Now it's like 20. So there is some interesting potential in the blockchain crypto world, and I really believe it's supported, especially over the next 48 hours. Like if you're a short holder, you could go in today. Let's say you find something like Chainlink or Augur, you go in today at 5,000, you might be able to double that in 48 hours. And then you get out, you move it into Bitcoin or something else, right? So if you're into that world, I would definitely pay attention. Silver is climbing through the roof. It's at 25. It was at 18, 19 for a long time. Now it's at 25. They're talking silver could go to 40. And if you're holding on to silver, it's not a bad thing. Gold's going up. All the metals are going up, which means the dollar is going down. Basic math. We got squares to Mars. Pick your battles. Although courage is rewarded. And I got a little bitey ant on me. And I've been leaving you guys alone. Leave me alone. Got the fire ants out here. Those are pesky little suckers. Courage is rewarded. Look at that. The sun is moving into closer trine with Mars. Like, be brave. Fortune favors the bold, as they say. But be selective. Pick your fights. Pick your battles. But you're going to have to stand up. Because if you don't stand up, what you don't stand up against will stand up against you. I'm just saying. Right? And courage. We got courage. It's encouraging. These transits are encouraging over the next 5 to 6 days. Make moves in your life. Don't be afraid. Whatever they are. We got the square from Sun Mercury to the moon. Definitely unstable on some level. Watch out for unstable personalities in your environment. Try not to be overly aggressive with this energy. I think the next 48 hours, we're going to see a lot more crazy taking place. You say, how much more crazy can it get? You'll see. You'll see some crazy shit over the next 48 hours. Wild stuff. Some of this is going to be Earth-Sun related too. They had an earthquake in North Carolina, right? That happened, I think, 2 days ago. I think Cremies will tell you about that. So keep your eye out for Earth changes over the next 48 hours as well. Some of that will settle down when the moon moves into Gemini. Fortune favors the bold. Look into short holds in the crypto world. 48, 72-hour holds. If you can go in and find the right crypto, get in, get out, move it around. And, nurture things that you love and care about. And don't be afraid to experiment. This is the energy for the day. This is the energy for the coming week. All right? There you go. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are done. An hour and 29 minutes. I didn't want to go that long, but sometimes these things happen. So, thank you for being here. Appreciate y'all. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with a shorter show. In the meantime, take good care of yourself, and I mean that on all levels across the board. Bye for now.